Welcome, guys. We got another really good guest and good episode here on our show, Flipping Miami. I'm Raul Bulufe. Thank you guys for listening. So on here today, I have Rob. And Rob is a really good dude. Met him through one of the free meetups that we do. And I'm not quite sure how you found me. Maybe it was meetup.com or anything. But yeah, me and Rob got connected. And then Rob expressed to me that he was in the process of learning to do his first deal. So we set up an agreement, and we ended up. I ended up coaching him through the process, and Rob right away took the information, ran with it. He comes from a business of selling metals. He comes from a business of selling metals, and wanted to do real estate, get involved in wholesale. Took the information, ran with it. Really good dude, honest guy. Hit a massive deal on his first deal, so I definitely want to talk about that. And I'm really happy to have him on, and we still kind of keep in touch. So it's good to see him go full circle, and I'm kind of honored to have you now on the show. So thanks for coming on, bro.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. I was just telling you before you started recording that this is great because my daughter's going to absolutely not believe that I was on a podcast, and when she goes on YouTube and pulls it up, her mind's going to explode.
Dude, that's so funny. All right, I'm excited for that. So let's I want to get into kind of like what your business looks like now, right, and things like that. But before that, I want to know. So tell me, if I would have met Rob in high school, who was Rob in high school? Were you a good student? You play, how was like your life in high school? If I would have met you, your class clown, like who was Rob?
Yeah. So I went to high school in Brazil, in São Paulo, to an American school there. And I played a lot of sports, man. I played all the sports I could get my hands on.
Really?
But yeah, I played soccer, court soccer, played basketball, baseball. I played everything I could.
I love that.
And I was a good student. And so that, high school was awesome. In Brazil, it was completely different. The experience down there is completely different than here.
Really?
Yeah, you have a lot back then, not now, but back then you had a lot more freedoms down there. There weren't as many problems like with drinking and driving, but I was driving at 13 years old. I was driving.
No way.
Yeah.
And like you're let's say like you're in high school, so you're a good student, playing sports. You probably had like a bunch of friends and stuff. Mm-hmm. When you're like leaving high school and you're kind of entering the more professional life, what did you think you were going to be doing? Did you plan on doing the rocks? Not the rocks, the metals and stuff. What did you plan?
No, at all. Actually, nothing like it. I had my heart set on becoming a doctor. Yeah.
Wow.
To be a doctor, and I got into a pre-med program in college, and I did 2.5 years of that.
Shoot.
I was fully into it. And then during a summer vacation, I went back and I was volunteering at a hospital. And somebody that I got close to, one of the patients that I was helping take care of, he passed away suddenly. And I went back to school, and I found that I couldn't, for whatever reason, I don't know. My heart wasn't in it anymore. And it took months for me to really realize it. But I switched. I dropped pre-med, and then I jumped into finance.
Ah, damn. So you went a completely different route.
Yeah. I went the exact opposite direction.
It's interesting, Rob, like hearing you say that, and I started with a similar path. Like I wanted to study medicine and all, but from like talking to a lot of people and doing the podcast and just friends of mine, I think like 95% of them like don't do what they thought they were going to do coming out of high school. You
don't know anything when you're that young.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question is, not only is the person listening to this probably young, or there's a lot of young listeners, but I think that like the perspective change of like, okay, I was going to do something and it didn't work out, but I took that and I ran with it and I still did something. Like, I think that's such a powerful thing. I think it's really, really interesting.
The ability to shift gears.
Yes.
Very quickly and not look back and just change directions and do something. that is something that at a young age you can do very quickly. And so that's kind of like a blessing, really.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So you did that. So then, so you had that little change in heart and you wanted to be a doctor. And then you're like, all right, let me study finance. So then you got out of school. And then what was like your first gig or your first job or your first?
So right out of college, I went back to Brazil and I got hired away to work as a financial analyst for a multinational company in São Paulo. And I did that for 2 years before I just got fed up with crime was really bad in Brazil at that time. And so it wasn't working for me anymore. And I had the connection to the States. And my family had an apartment here in Miami, which we would come and visit all the time. So I literally, within a week, I resigned from my job, packed my bags, bought a ticket, and just came here, not knowing what I was going to do or anything.
You just came and just say, yo, pack my bags, I'm out of here.
I'm done with it. And I told my friends, listen, I'm leaving. And they're like, okay. And the next thing they hear, I'm abroad.
No.
Yeah. Believe me, I went to say goodbye and they thought it was a joke. And,
left. And like in your mind, did you think like, okay, I'm going to start a business, or what were you thinking?
You know what? I didn't know, Raul. I didn't know. I was like, I'm confident I'll get a job quickly.
Right.
I did. So I wasn't worried. Looking back, that was pretty ballsy, but that bravado.
A good word.
You know what I mean? I would never do something like that now, but back then I did it. I pulled the trigger and it worked out. And I started working at a securities company. It was Prudential Securities, I remember.
Okay. And then so you came down here, you just packed your bag, told your friends, I'm out. You quit, whatever.
Yep.
Which is pretty ballsy, like you mentioned. And so you got down here. Did you like what happened? What was the shift of, okay, I'm working for a company, I'm working for someone else, to then you start thinking, okay, I think I want to start my own business, or I think I want to start shifting in a different direction in my life and kind of taking more charge of that. Like, was it like an event in time, like one moment? Was there like many moments, or did you get fed up with something? What happened there?
Well, at the time, so it had to do more with like safety and security and in Brazil. And so I was dating somebody at the time, and she was leaving to come to the US. And I remember that stuff was already starting to get kind of hairy in Brazil. But that day that we went to take her to the airport, we're in traffic on our way to the airport in São Paulo. And right next to me, a motorcycle pulled up, and I see somebody come out from like the trees with a gun to mug the guy that was on the motorcycle. And I'm watching this whole thing literally 4 feet away from me. The guy from the motorcycle gets off the bike and punches the thief, who falls to the ground with gun in hand and starts running, and the guy chased him.
What?
Watching this, yeah, he chased him. And then the guy basically looked back and fired the gun from under his arm, and I heard pop, pop, pop. And I saw the guy just collapsed and died right there.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I was like, man, I got to get the hell out of here. This is crazy. And this was literally 10 minutes away from my house. So that was like the sign of, you know what, it's just not safe. And this was 3:30 in the afternoon. It was broad daylight. So it's not like this was at 1 a.m. in the morning. And so that was my sign to get the hell out of Brazil at the time and try something new.
Wow. And what was like your first venture by yourself after like basically what I'm getting is, so you heard the shooting, or you're not heard it, you visualized it like 10 minutes from your house. That must be pretty scary in itself. And then did you come back here right away, or where'd you go?
I was literally like 10 days later, I was in Miami after that.
And then what led you into starting to think about real estate? I know you got into your minerals business for a while.
Right. So after having that job, I started a company, and I got some cash after a couple of years, and I put that cash to work, And this was back in the day where, you could throw darts at a board and chances were that you're going to make money. And so I would invest in real estate that way.
Cool.
I picked up some single family homes, did some rehabs. I didn't do the rehabs, but we hired contractors to do the rehabs, bought some land, that type of stuff. So it was very hands-off investing, but always profitable.
Really?
And I ended up buying a commercial property as well. And so that's the extent of my real estate investing back then. It was nothing like running a real estate investing business. It was more like a hobby.
Gotcha.
So that was my experience back then. And that was early 2000s.
So in the early 2000s, so you had made some money in your other business. Yep. And then you got in with a buddy or a partner, and then you guys started like, okay, let's buy this, and my friend's doing it, and you guys started buying and making money. So that was like your introduction to real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. My business partner at the time, he had experience in real estate. And so he was like, listen, I mean, it was just basically fixing up banged up homes. And he would do that. And so we did that a bunch. With several properties, and we bought some land, which we were going to develop, and we didn't, but we still made a killing on the land. And it was that type of investing, but everybody was making money back then. You might have been too young back then.
I wasn't around it. Yeah. I heard about the golden days.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember buying property and literally making crazy money within 3 months of owning it.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts.
Wow. And okay. So then like fast forward, so you got that introduction, you kept your other business, you kept doing that. And then so let's fast forward a little bit to like to today. So you got into wholesaling. I think it's been probably like a year or so since you started wholesaling and all?
Yeah. It's gonna be this summer. It'll be about a year.
So probably like 8 or 9 months that we're recording this now.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit like what your structure looks like now. I mean, I know we're recording this right now in Corona times, so things have altered. But let's say pre-Corona or post-Corona, like what does your business kind of look like? What kind of marketing you're doing? What does your business life look like? Even you could even talk about the minerals business a little bit.
Yeah, metals. It's metals. I came to you. I remember when I came to you. What I was trying to do was take my foot off the accelerator as far as how much time it was consuming and try and shift my book so that I could open up more time to do real estate investing. Because, with the metals, you can buy and sell one container at a time. And if you want to do any significant volume, it takes a lot of work. So I started shifting my book so that I could buy big jags at a time. And therefore, get the same thing accomplished, but without putting so much time into it, because I always had my mind set on getting back into real estate. And that's why I did that. And that's when I started attending the meetup.
Okay.
And I don't remember what triggered my interest in wholesaling. I think I must have been on YouTube or something. Yeah. And I decided to attend, and I immersed myself completely into that.
Yeah.
And that's how we met.
Yeah, so I love that.
I started out strictly going off of what I heard at your meetups. And I remember I signed up for Sean Terry's course.
Yep.
And I devoured that material. That's
really good course. That's
really, really good. He's amazing. I even attended one of his events. He's a class act.
Top notch.
Top notch. He is top notch. And so, I was fortunate enough that I had cash that I could put to work to learn, for lack of a better word. I was paying for speed is the way I saw it, to figure out what worked best. And I've literally tried all sorts of different things. With a very expensive, if you remember, I came to you and I was running a very expensive direct mail campaign, and I did that for several months. And I've tried texting, cold calling, Facebook leads. So I've tried all those different things, and I've paid for it. but, I figured out what works for me.
Yeah.
And so right now, I'm literally a one-man show. I had a VA that I had working for me, helping me with the texting campaigns.
Okay.
But the problem I found was that when I would go and review the text messages, it was very robotic. I didn't have the luck with the VAs that I did hire to find somebody who sort of got the way we communicate here in America. So I found that there were kind of canned messages, and sometimes I could like put myself in the shoes of the seller, and they would just be like, "What?" And the conversation would end right there. But still, I got a bunch of leads and actually got a deal from the texting campaigns.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so, and the texting thing is a very interesting little niche that's been happening this last year or so. And so Rob, here's Rob. Like he comes from Brazil, has a completely different background. Starts as a doctor, then goes into finance, then gets a job in Brazil, then leaves and comes here by himself. And somehow he gets involved in real estate, comes into wholesale. From what I'm aware of, it took you a couple of months to get your first deal, maybe like 4 to 6 months or so.
Yeah, it did. It was very frustrating. And I actually came to you because I was, in retrospect, I was getting nowhere with my direct mail campaign. But in retrospect, my follow-up sucked. And as you know, everything in the game is all about follow-up. And I learned that quickly with you, even when I started with you.
Yeah.
Remember, those first few calls that we had, I had this feeling like, Jesus Christ, I've spent money. I understand conceptually everything that, I've read and watched, but implementing it, I would get like dazed. I would almost feel lost, and you were like, listen, Rob, you just got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. And that was the turning point for me. Like if I hadn't sat down with you and gone over all that stuff that you taught me, which was, nothing that I hadn't heard before.
Right.
For whatever reason, it clicked. And I don't know how quickly after I started with you, I brought that deal. Remember that with Diana?
I think it was before our second call. So it was like a month and a half. No, I'm sorry, before our third call or something. So it's probably like a month after we first started.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that are probably just starting off in kind of in similar steps as you. Some might have good finances like you did, or some might not. But what do you think was I heard you mention like clicked. Oh, something clicked. This. What do you think is like the big factors of executing? Like, what are the main things to execute in this business to like make a difference? To make money, make a difference. What do you think it is like coming from you?
I mean, I found that I analyze. I tend to analyze everything, overanalyze, reanalyze to make sure that I analyzed it correctly. And it's a time killer, man. And in this business, really, I found that the only things that matter are getting on the phone with sellers, going on appointments, and making offers. I mean, that's when I was with you, you were like, listen, man, you just got to go on the appointments, make the offers. And in the beginning, that fear of having the offer not be right or having the offer rejected, after a while, I was like, you know what, screw it. I don't even give a shit what they say. Some of them are going to say yes. Some of them are going to say no. So what next? Let's go. Kind of attitude. But that took me a while. That took me months. And it's not that I didn't get it because it makes sense to me. But for whatever reason, when I was in it, it took me a little bit longer,
Yeah.
But that's
I wouldn't feel alone, man. I wouldn't feel alone. The same thing happens to many people. It happened to me. It happens to everybody. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's like a very genuine thing. And I'm sure people listening to this, even in different businesses, feel that like, okay, I know that I have to go out there and, let's say, talk to more clients or, make more phone calls or do follow-up calls or not analyze as much. What helped you kind of like get over that hump and into, actually getting money into your bank account from wholesaling? What do you think helped you get over that?
Once I started, once we had a call, and I remember you telling me, man, you just got to go on appointments. You got to block off time every afternoon. You got to go on the appointments and get on the phone, schedule the appointment, go on the appointment, because if you don't go on the appointment, you got zero chance of, getting an offer accepted. And once I did that, and I tweaked it later because I actually ended up going on some bum appointments, but that changed everything because, if I'm taking the time to drive, sometimes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes in some cases, then you start, it's 40 minutes going, it's 40 minutes coming back. And so you got to make sure that you get your shit in order to make the most of that time. And so then I started putting forms together to pre-screen the calls and make sure that I was actually going on appointments I wanted to be on.
Love it.
And trying not to spend time running comps and reviewing the property details and all that garbage, which I used to do in the beginning. I would spend an hour and a half going to Zillow, then going to this and other site and pulling up, comps. And then I'd go on the appointment and the person's like, nah, forget it. I'm not even interested in talking to you if I'm not getting, full retail. I was like, shit, I just spent 2 hours on this property and what a waste of freaking time. So then, things like that, I started tweaking. I don't do any of that before I go on appointments now.
Right. Very minor. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Yeah. I mean, people would laugh when they see me there's all these crazy things about pulling comps and this and that. People will laugh if you see me. It literally takes me no more than 3 minutes to get my offer number. And I use Zillow or realtor.com. Like literally, I'm not even joking. I can do a video about it, or I'm sure you're probably similar now. If I have an appointment that the lead looks good, it qualifies, and I'm going on an appointment or doing a phone appointment nowadays, I legitimately 3 minutes, Zillow, okay, it's selling for $250. Okay, I gotta be at 140. Okay, cool, that's it. And then if they're at 150 or 160 and I'm at 140, then I'll start doing a little bit more research, because there is a very high possibility that they're at 220 and we're not even in the ballpark.
Yeah. You got to spend your time, speaking to these people and trying to close a deal, not spending your time before you even meet them or talk to them on the phone, trying to figure out what, the comps are for property with someone you've never even spoken to yet. I did that a lot in the beginning, man. I did that a lot. I was furious at myself in retrospect, but whatever, I learned.
No, and that's how you learn, man. It literally happens all the time. And I want to say, I like to ask about the first deal. And I know the story a little bit, but I want to hear from your point of view too. I think it'd be good. So run us through a little bit about the first deal that you got and we ended up doing and stuff. Kind of like how'd you find it? What marketing happened? What was the first call like? What was the first appointment like? All that stuff. If you could run through that, I think it would be a cool story.
I mean, I think that first deal, when I look back at it, it was, it's funny. It was the universe giving me proof of concept.
Yeah.
Because I was banging my head against the wall so much. And I was like, shit, what is going on? How come I can't get a deal? I've spoken to people. I've made offers. And if you remember, I told you that I bought Chris Chico's course.
Yep. Facebook.
Leads. Really good course. I mean,
good dude, very good dude, good course.
Really good. That course is really good. And I actually got 2 deals from that marketing.
Nice.
The first deal was literally, they went out, they clicked on the ad, they filled out the form. I got the notification. I called, which later on I found out, you got to call them immediately. I found out that on Facebook leads, if I took more than 5 to 10 minutes to get back to somebody, the chances of me getting in front of that person went down exponentially.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone immediately, and the lady's name was Diana.
Yep.
Remember her? And I spoke to her, set the appointment, literally. I said, listen, I'm available tomorrow or Thursday. And she was like, Thursday works, because she was only off certain days of the week. Scheduled the appointment, went out to the house. And as soon as I scheduled that, I drove over to your office.
Yeah. Yeah. We spoke right before we spoke. You're like, yeah, I have an appointment tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, let's get on the phone and tell me about it.
And the one thing out of that meeting that I do remember that I took away, which was key, you told me, listen, Rob, when you get in there, make sure you price anchor.
Yeah.
And I did. And I got a deal. And the spread on that, I think the spread was at that meeting, after I got the deal signed, it was like $50,000.
Right.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard the videos, I'd seen the testimonials. You see the people doing this, but when, you're there and the lady's going to sign, you're like, oh shit, it's real. And the price anchoring was key. So
and for those of you guys who don't know what price anchoring, it's basically a part of the sales process when you present the price. Do you remember like some of the specific words you used to help like some of the audience like conceptualize that?
Yeah, I remember I remember telling her, I think it was I knew that we had a deal at 175. And one of the other things he told me is that, listen, you've got to make an offer that if you don't cringe when you make when you throw out that first number, then it's too high. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to give this lady a number. She's going to kick. She was a tough lady. I was like,
she was a tough one. She was a tough lady, man.
She's going to kick my ass. She wasn't tall, but she was tough. And I was like, she's me out. Yeah. I remember, I told her 130. To me, that's
a low
crazy. To me, it was crazy. In retrospect, that might not even have been that crazy or insulting of an offer.
Yeah.
And then we worked it up, and I remember trying to make it seem as though she was getting a deal, relative to my first offer. So I went through that whole process, and then it was 150, but only if you can sign right now, and we got a deal, but if you do it today. I was not going to let her sit on the contract and call me back and then check with whomever. I was like, if you sign right now today, I can do that and we can close quick.
I love that.
He sat down and signed the papers, and I was kind of in a daze, not believing that, I had this finally done. Signed, got out, called you just to let you know.
Yeah.
And that was the first one.
I love that. There's so many important like key lessons there. It's like, dude, Rob just took action, man. Like like you mentioned, he saw the videos, he heard the podcast, he even heard me talk to him about it, but he still went out there and said, yo, okay, this is what I've learned, this is what I've gathered. I'm going to do it. Like you had the confidence through time, or maybe you were just kind of sick and tired of not doing a deal that you're like, yo, I'm going to get there and I'm going to just say this. And who knows?
It really almost was. I was fed up.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that first deal. And I was like, by now I should have my first deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as poorly as I was following up with my direct mail campaign and as many flaws and mistakes as I made, you can still get a deal if you just follow the most basic of things that, are out there, which are readily available. You teach them. Sean Terry teaches them.
Yeah.
Just, do it and don't let yourself get in the way, which I did a lot,
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised.
That was good, man. That was an awesome thing. I think the first, there was a little bit of complications with it later on with her moving or whatever. So it kind of brought down the numbers, but I think we still made like 25,000 on that deal.
Yeah, we did.
And we closed relatively quickly and stuff. So it was a pretty good deal for the first hit. 25,000 is in a great area. Got a good deal. So for those of you guys listening, imperfect action, go out there. There's so much free content. Like just listening to this episode, if you rewind it, you could understand what a price anchor is. You could understand what it's like to make a lower offer to get the better deal. All you got to do is now just go out there and have a little bit of confidence in you. There's proof of concept right here. You got two guys that are doing it from two different backgrounds, Brazil, MD, and then moved here with nothing. And then, you got me young here. So like you got so many proof of concepts out here in podcasts. You just have a little bit of confidence and go out there and just do it. It's not easy. It's not like you're going to get a deal every day or anything like that. But if you take the right actions, and like Rob was mentioning, talk to sellers, go on appointments. If times are tough right now, I understand, do phone appointments, but talk to sellers, make offers. And Rob, do you feel like if, let's say that you keep talking to sellers and making offers and kind of following the system, do you feel there's a way that like you don't do deals, or is there a way that like things can fail or fall out of hand or something?
If you're speaking, I mean, you have to say the right things. You got to be listening for the right things more than anything, because they're going to tell you, you're going to be able to hear them speak, find what the motivation is, to find out what that timeline is, and then you push the price that you need to get whatever spread it is you're targeting.
Yeah, that's good. Dude, Rob, so like I know you on a personal level, and I think the person listening here is going to understand that you're an achiever, right? Like you don't just take stuff and not do things. What do you think? Sorry, excuse me. What do you think are some habits that kind of helped you achieve in your other business, in this business? Like, what do you think are some habits that you've learned along the way or still use today that kind of like help you along this journey and make some money and do all this stuff?
Yeah, it's interesting because even though the metals business is good, it's funny how when you venture into something new where it's uncharted territory, you can forget or find yourself losing your bearings just because you're doing something new. And at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, it isn't that different. The same general principles apply. I have my routine every morning, which I try and keep sacred. And, I go through, whether it's, I wake up early, and sometimes it's meditation or exercise, visualizations. I try and stick to that. I don't do it every day because life gets in the way. I have a 3-year-old here at the house, so sometimes things get hairy, but for the most part, sticking to that, and then block off times of the day to do certain things and make sure that is on the calendar every day.
I like that.
So know that, okay, from 10 a.m. to 12, all I'm going to do is call sellers.
Love it.
Every day. And no matter what happens, and some days are good and you're going to get to speak to great people. Some days you're going to get a bunch of no's and people will tell you to go screw off, and it is what it is. And then you hit it the next day, and it's just the nature of the business. And go on appointments. So that sort of structure, I think, is key. You talked about it a little bit, and then I know Sean Terry's big on that as well. And I remember that from his courses. That's sort of what he taught. But I applied that a lot, and I'm still trying to. It's not perfect, but I'm trying to do that now.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And like, nothing's perfect, by the way. Like no structure is going to be the maximum structure. Something I have noticed from reading and doing interviews and listening to interviews, and morning routines seem to be something that's like a very commonality amongst success and high achievers. So I think that's awesome that you have your morning routine. What do you think about that?
If I don't do that, it's gotten to the point where if I don't do that, if I don't get up at 5:45 and get my exercise clothes on and meditate and then do my my little routine and like pray or do my visualizations, then I go for a walk and listening to an audiobook.
I love it.
That's how I digest more information, or a podcast, and I do that for like 45 minutes and exercise after that. If I don't do that, my days are a mess.
Yeah.
I can't function. Everything's off, and those days end up being not as productive. I get stuff done, but my days where I'm top performance-wise, really productive, my day has to start like that. It's kind of crazy, but that's how it is now.
Yeah. But once you get in that flow of doing it all the time, and that's awesome that like you have it kind of like mapped out, and you might take it for granted, but that's a wonderful habit that you've created for yourself. Like once you got to that point, because let's say that you wanted to shift in a different business or do something different. That habit's always there. So now you just use your audiobook and you could just learn a completely different craft over time. Because the morning routine still exists. That's why I think it's so important. And I love that you do that. And I think that it's probably a big reason why you can reach certain levels. Really just because of the morning routine and the habit and the discipline you have for that. So kudos there. I think that's an awesome thing. Yeah. Rob, dude, let me ask you this, man. So I think that everyone who kind of has a will to learn and a will to, you always seem like you're improving, right? You didn't stop when you didn't want to do the medical degree. You didn't stop when the minerals thing. You didn't stop there. You're in wholesale now, and I'm sure you're going to have a next step. I always think people who don't stop, right, who are always going. Yeah. I think that some people have like a chip or something they're like obsessed with. You know, does anything come to mind? You know, if I ask you like, what are you obsessed with? It doesn't have to be business related either. It could be, you know, anything else. But is there something that you feel like, oh man, I'm obsessed with this?
I mean, as far as, you know, I've been working on this for like months now, and it's just getting the right mindset. Like I'm trying to shape that, and it's a new concept for me. It makes sense, but you know, I'm reading a book currently now. It's actually called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and she talks about, you know, either you have a fixed mindset or you have a growth mindset. And obviously, the book is all about learning and gearing up towards having a growth mindset. And that's been key because, you know, I'm always trying to learn stuff because I know that I know some stuff, but I don't know all the stuff.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And even though I've got, you know, my guess is I probably got close to 20 years on you. Yeah. I don't know shit in real estate compared to you. You know what I mean? Because I've got a ways to go to learn. It's common sense, but I don't have as many deals under my belt as you do. And you only get the experience by having those notches in your belt. So always trying to work on that learning curve as quickly as possible because, you know, you want to drive deals, you want to maximize spreads, and I'm only going to do that by learning. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm always trying to, you know, grow and add new tools to the belt and try and just sharpen, you know, everything so I can bring more cash in this real estate investing thing, which I want to do for the long term. So, I mean, I'm committed to this. So that's
it's funny. It's awesome how you said that, like, you want to like increase your deals, increase the spreads, and you go to mindset. Like some people think, oh, you just do a different marketing technique. No, not really. Actually, a lot of the spread, a lot of the money that you're going to attract in your life is up here.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I mean, the marketing,
right.
The marketing is the marketing, and in different marketing works for, you know, different channels work for different people. It has to do with your personality and has to do a lot with your follow-up. Has to do with your budget. And, you know,
yeah,
it varies. I mean, when I met you, you were doing a bunch of different things, and I was trying Facebook, and you were like, no, I've never done Facebook, and I got a deal from Facebook. You were doing cold calling, and I mean, I know people who spend a ton of money in direct mail, and it works for them. You know, it's so many different ways to attack the market. And at the end of the day, I really think that it's just, you know, it's all in the follow-up and just having the will to persevere, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The mindset thing is key, man. It's cliche to talk about it and read about it and stuff, but it really starts there.
To hear my daughter giving me shit about that.
That's funny. That's funny. But no, man, I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's a good point. Reading, learning, it's just, I think Ray Dalio, you know, big hedge fund guy, he has a book called Principles, and really good YouTube videos, by the way. He has a YouTube video called How the Economic Machine Works. It's like 30 minutes, and it's awesome. And it talks about the economy and stuff. But anyways, Ray Dalio, one of his like life principles is it's more how you deal with what you don't know than dealing with what you do know. Like basically, the way he got really smart and, you know, worth billions of dollars was he didn't know a lot of things. So the way he dealt with what he didn't know was what he ended up getting good at. And he used like algorithms and computers and stuff to help him with that. But kind of going back to what you mentioned, you might not know certain things, and no one does, right? But you reading and you reaching out and stuff, that clears that. You didn't know that. Now you know more. Now you can act more and make more. And that's kind of what has happened in the wholesale business.
Yeah. And expanding into different, parts of the business as well. I've been, just now, since everything is sort of slow, and I've got more time than ever.
Yeah.
Learning new things, like trying to get more deals out of the leads that I do generate. And not only wholesale leads, but like, what do I do with the leads that aren't good wholesale leads that I was tossing before? And, looking at creative financing, and I actually learned about lease options through Joe McCall.
Lease option guy. He's good.
Lease option guy. I went to one of his trainings as well. And now during this downtime, I've been doing a lot of the creative financing, studying on different aspects of that, so that when I get a lead, I don't have to only stick to, okay, if this is not a wholesale deal, well, then let's shit can the lead. I want to be able to take advantage of every lead that I get to be able to squeeze something out every time the phone rings or I actually connect with somebody.
Love that. All right. Cool, man. So basically always learning lease options and doing anything that can help you grow. Rob, and so I want to ask you one big question, and then we'll have one final little thoughts and stuff before we wrap this up. Rob, when you think of $100 million, where does your mind go? Like, how do you, where do you, if you had to come up with a plan to make 100 million, or else someone's going to chop off your legs or something, what do you think of? Do you think of real estate? Do you think of another business? Like, what do you think of?
It can be any sector.
It can be anything.
Oh man. There's so many. I mean, I always, wherever there is market dysfunction, I guess, that's where the opportunities will lie. I mean, here in the U.S., at least I see, healthcare.
Really?
I just don't, I don't understand how things can cost what they do in the U.S. when you look at other countries, and those costs are not the same. So I think there's room for massive disruption there. I think the construction industry, they're stuck in their ways for I don't know how many decades now, and I think that is ripe for disruption. Anywhere where there's massive disruption, where the markets are inefficient and have been stuck in their ways for a long time, I think there's multiple $100 million ideas, even $1 billion ideas in there.
Yeah, I think real estate, there's a few. It's probably going to take a while before they can actually go through, but
what's your $1 million idea for real estate, for example?
Good one. So when I think of $100 million, I think of multiple businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I think of multiple cash flowing businesses, and eventually increasing value and selling at multiples. But let's say specific for real estate, if I had to come up with one business for real estate, I think somewhere between contracts are signed with a buyer and seller to closing and getting funded. I think that process, there's a big win there to do it all online. Even virtual notaries and title company integration and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little out of my brain power, but I think that there's a big win there when it comes to the real estate industry.
I think verticalizing it, you mean?
That what?
Like verticalizing all those different steps in the chain?
Correct. If we can find some platform, and I've heard blockchain has tried to do it in Switzerland or whatever, but if there can be one platform that title companies can be integrated with, a buyer and a seller sign contracts, even if there's a realtor involved, they plug it in here, and a closing can happen a lot quicker through one platform. Mm-hmm. It can be run by a title company, or it can be run directly by the city or a municipality. I don't know. but I think there's a win there. There's a lot of fees that happen there. There's a lot of tax stamps and little things like that. I feel could be a big win if someone can figure out a way to streamline it. And it's the lengthiest part of the deal.
Oh, the process. Yeah, I know.
So if someone can find a way to compress the time and make it worthwhile, I think there's a pretty big idea there because it happens for everything.
Yeah, that's an inefficiency for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, my sister-in-law just bought a house and everything was set to go for weeks. And it just, between the lender and the title company, I remember, my wife was telling me how she was bitching because it was like pulling teeth every 2 days, every 3 days. And so I was like, that shouldn't be like that. There's no reason to take that long.
Yeah. And I don't know, it would take a lot more research and study to see exactly what goes behind the scenes or whatever. But overall, if someone can figure out that equation, I think there's a huge win there. But I think there's a lot easier ways to get to 100 million. It's not easy, but I think there's simpler ways than solving a really complex thing.
Well, let's see. I think shortly here, we're going to be finding out because somebody's going to come up with something after we walk out of this.
Hell yeah. There's a lot of time to think. I think, was it Einstein? Who created calculus? Whoever created calculus, I remember he created it in a time, I think it was another like disease happening in the world, and he was stuck at home, similar to our situation. And he was a young guy, and he created like calculus. I mean, it might be Einstein or Newton. I don't know who it is, but one of those guys.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time to think. I feel people might come up with some good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of time to think, a lot of time to study, a lot of time to learn.
Yeah.
Trying not to eat shit. It's tough not to eat shit during this downtime,
Yeah. But Rob, dude, it's been awesome. I really appreciate it. You have any like final thoughts or anything you can share with the audience that might help them in their investing journey or anything like that?
I mean, I would, for anybody starting out, I would say, don't get too caught up on what marketing channel works or what list is hot or working. I found that, the lists, there can be, a little variation, 5-10%. But at the end of the day, it's how you approach it, how consistent you are. Just get them on the phone or get the phone to ring and then go on the appointments and stick to it, every day. In marketing, the only thing that matters is consistency, I found. I mean, if you start skipping days, you're 1 day on, 3 days off, you're screwed. You might as well just get your money, set it on fire, and have fun doing that because that's what you're doing.
Go to the Hard Rock place and play.
Yeah, go to South Beach and open up a tab and just drink it away because if you do with the money, you're basically pissing it away.
Yeah.
Hard to do, but you got to stay consistent with that, and just get a mentor, man. Get somebody that you can rely on to get some advice. It doesn't even have to be paid advice.
Right.
If you're lucky enough to do that, God bless you. But if not, there's a million ways you can DM people on Instagram and Facebook or go up a podcast and just ask for help, get pointers, go on YouTube, listen, and, you'll get there.
I love it. Dude, I appreciate that, man. And I just want to let you know, thank you for coming on. You have a good way to, you have a very good approach on the way you portray the information and like the kind of things you've been through. So I feel that people are going to get good value out of it. So I appreciate that.
All right. That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Rob, and if anyone wanted to reach out to you or kind of like learn a little bit more, or if they wanted to, maybe they're down here and they want to like learn more about you or maybe do some business with you, how can they connect with you?
I'm on Instagram. I'm not even sure what my handle is, but I'm on there.
I know. I tagged you today. I think it's like Rob7 something. I gotta find it.
You know what? I couldn't tell you if my life depended on it right now. I couldn't tell you. You can text. You can text.
Are you on Facebook or something?
I am on Facebook. You can look me up on Facebook or Instagram.
Robert Riva.
Yeah, it's Robert Della Riva.
Robert Della Riva. Okay. So I'll find it and then I'll put it on the show notes if people want to reach out.
Yeah. I would give people my text, my phone number, but
yeah.
I don't know.
We'll put it on Facebook. We'll put it on Facebook. And
Yeah, let's do that. Let people message me first.
But Rob, I appreciate it. And if you guys are listening to this on iTunes, feel free to watch this. You can watch this on YouTube on my channel, Raul Bulufe, or on the website, raulbulufe.com. It'll be posted there. I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you guys got value out of this. Rob's a good dude doing deals, so I know you can too. So thank you guys. Thanks, Rob, again, and thank you for listening.
All right, brother. Take care.
Take care, man.